We spend so much time thinking about the obvious stuff for our health, right? Like what we eat, how much we exercise. But what if I told you the biggest dangers are the ones you literally can't even see? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible threats that could be seriously messing with your health and even how long you live. And I'm not being dramatic here. The stakes are incredibly high. One of these hidden threats can actually double your risk of dying early. It's a silent operator because, you often can't see it or feel it, and millions of people have it and have absolutely no idea.
And it's not just about longevity. A second threat, one that's hiding in things you use every single day, has been linked to a pretty shocking 50% drop in testosterone in teenage boys. This just shows you how widespread these invisible dangers really are, affecting us at every single stage of life.
So what is going on here? What are these invisible threats? Well, in this explainer, we're going to expose the two major culprits behind these scary statistics. And more importantly, we're going to talk about what you can actually do about them, starting right now. All right, first up, let's meet our first villain, visceral fat. Now, this is not the fat you can pinch on your stomach. Nope, this is something way more sneaky. It's the deep, internal belly fat that's quietly wreaking havoc inside your body.
So what is it exactly? Well, visceral fat is the fat that wraps itself around your vital organs. We're talking your liver, your intestines, and here's the really tricky part. You don't have to be overweight to have a lot of it. You can actually look pretty lean on the outside and still have dangerous levels of this stuff on the inside. And listen, this stuff isn't just sitting there. It's metabolically active. You should think of it like its own toxic organ, constantly pumping out inflammatory molecules, messing with how your body processes sugar, and it can even increase your risk of metastatic cancer by a huge 44%.
To really get one of its biggest dangers, let's use a really simple analogy. Normally, when you eat something, your blood sugar goes up. Insulin then acts kind of like a taxi driver. It shows up, picks up that sugar, that glucose, and drives it to your cells where it can be used for energy. Simple enough, right? Well, visceral fat completely sabotages this whole system. It floods your body with inflammatory stuff that basically creates a massive roadblock. It makes your cells go deaf to insulin's signal, which means the taxi driver can't make its delivery. So what happens? All that sugar gets stuck in your blood, which leads to those awful energy crashes and, you guessed it, cravings for the exact foods that made the problem worse in the first place. So if this fat is so dangerous, how does it even get there? I mean, it's not just about getting older. There are a few key lifestyle habits that are directly fueling its growth. Now, the main culprits are probably what you'd expect, but the speed at which the damage happens is just shocking. There was this one study where healthy young guys who slept only 4 hours a night for just 2 weeks saw an 11% jump in their visceral fat. An 11% increase in 2 weeks. You combine that with too many calories, chronic stress, and too much booze, and you've got yourself a perfect storm. Okay, so while those habits build the threat from the inside, there's a whole other class of dangers attacking us from the outside. Let's turn to our second hidden threat, endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs. If visceral fat is the villain within, these are the chemical invaders from the outside world that are messing with our hormones. And the big problem with EDCs is that they are everywhere. I mean, they're not in some distant factory. They're in our homes, in our food packaging, in the products we touch and use every single day. For example, get this, that flimsy paper receipt you get from the grocery store, it's literally coated in BPA, a really potent endocrine disruptor. Just by handling it, the chemical can absorb right through your skin. It's a crazy source of exposure that most of us never even think about. Or how about the nonstick pan used to cook breakfast, that coating that makes cleanup so easy? Well, it can leach something called forever chemicals, another EDC, directly into your food, especially if the pan is scratched or gets too hot. So these chemicals pretty much fall into 3 main groups. You've got BPA, which mimics the hormone estrogen. Then you have phthalates. These are what make plastics flexible, and they're in everything from food packaging to makeup. And finally, you have PFAS, those forever chemicals that are great at resisting stains and water, but they can build up in our bodies over time. So the bottom line is that all these chemicals basically throw a wrench into our body's finely tuned hormonal system. They can interfere with testosterone, estrogen, thyroid hormones, the things that regulate everything from our energy and metabolism to our fertility and development. Now, I know this all sounds pretty alarming, but here's the good news. You are not powerless here. There are simple, really effective steps you can take to fight back against both of these hidden threats. So let's walk through a clear 4-part action plan. Okay, the first and most immediate place you can make a huge difference is your kitchen. This is basically ground zero for cutting down your exposure to EDCs and for making better food choices to fight that visceral fat. So start by swapping out those black plastic food containers, which can be made from some nasty recycled materials, for glass or bamboo. Ditch the nonstick pans for good old stainless steel or cast iron. Use wooden or metal utensils instead of plastic ones, and try to never store acidic or fatty foods in plastic, because that just makes the chemicals leach out faster. All right, next up, let's talk about movement. Now, all exercise is good for you, but when it comes to getting rid of visceral fat, there is one type that stands out as the absolute best weapon you have. And that weapon is vigorous aerobic exercise. I'm talking about activities that really get your heart pumping, like running, swimming, cycling. They are incredibly effective at targeting and burning off visceral fat. In fact, here's the best part. It's one of the very first types of fat your body starts to burn for fuel when you get into a consistent exercise routine. Okay, here is a super simple rule that can have a profound impact. Try to finish your last meal at least 3 hours before you go to sleep. That's it. This gives your body time to digest, which helps improve your sleep quality and prevents the hormonal chaos that can lead to fat storage. And finally, we come full circle, right back to where we started, sleep. Remember that study? Just 2 weeks of bad sleep caused an 11% spike in visceral fat? Making sure you get 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every night is it's non-negotiable for protecting your metabolic health. We have covered a lot here, from hidden fats to invisible chemicals, but look, knowledge is only powerful if you actually do something with it. So, looking at this plan, the real question isn't whether you should make a change, it's which small, manageable one are you going to start with today?